Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
Free fall. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It's Monday, April 28th, 2025. And this weekend was one of those weekends. What do we start with? This is the moment when I wish we had more than 1 hour to talk through issues and things that happened. But I have to start with Shedeur Sanders because I've never seen this level of attention, this level of seriousness about a player falling from round 1 to round 2 to round 3 to round 4 to round 5. People losing their minds. It wasn't about race. It was not black people, white people, brown people, purple people. It was people with a microphone telling you that NFL executives were prize idiots. Not one team, not two teams, but all 32 teams. I don't know how you could include the Browns in there. The Browns drafted him in the 5th round. I guess you're an idiot when you don't draft a guy earlier who you end up getting. That's ridiculous, of course. It makes you smart. Andrew Berry the GM of the Browns had a very funny comment saying, hey, yeah, we took him because he was no longer valued correctly. He had dropped so far that it made sense to take him. They didn't need a quarterback. They've got 69 quarterbacks in the quarterback's room now. But when you see that sort of arbitrage and you've got a player available to you who is better than his draft slot and you can sign that player, then you draft the player. Even if you don't need the shortstop or the quarterback, you take the best available player in theory. And that wasn't even the craziest part of this whole Shedeur Sanders weekend. I thought I'd started with Stephen A. Smith, who decided, I guess I could have started with Mel Kiper, but I'd rather start with Stephen A., who decided that for whatever reason, he wanted to invoke the C word. Not the C word that you're not allowed to use because it's such an unpleasant word. I'm talking about the C word that as a team executive is worse than the other C word in some regards because there's a lot of money involved when collusion is on the table. I would like to present you the facts of the case here. Shedeur Sanders, one of the top quarterbacks on the board. Top 2, top 5, top 10, top 20. Doesn't matter. Every team has a separate list of players. 32 teams, 32 draft boards. There is no oversight by the league. You don't submit to the league what your draft board is. You sure as heck fire don't talk to other teams about what your draft board is. You hide it from people as though you've got the nuclear codes. This is not about not signing Barry Bonds or Trevor Bauer, which I also don't believe is actually collusion. I believe it's actually owners who are saying, hey, this isn't worth it. But in the draft, I have never seen in my career anything more secretive than draft boards. And it always made me laugh because we had to spend extra money at the ballpark in order to darken out the rooms where the draft was being done. No food delivery people allowed in or out. No executives allowed in or out. When the owner or I wanted to go into the draft room, there would be like a secret knock. Of course, the owner would just barge right in, was given a key, a locked room where the master key wouldn't work during the draft. Just insanity. So you think that all the teams got together and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the entire draft all about Shedeur Sanders. Now, we're going to release the fact that 250 to 500 to 600,000 people attended in Green Bay. We'll release the fact that over 13 million people watched the draft. But the reason why there's so much excitement and the people were watching is because they were waiting to see when Shedeur Sanders was going to be drafted. And if we draft him in the first or second round, we're going to lose all the talking points and excitement of hearing Mel Kiper losing his mind or hearing Stephen A. Smith accusing us of collusion. So don't draft him in the second round or third, but go ahead and get him in the fifth. It's so ridiculous that I have a hard time even acknowledging what Stephen A. Smith's point was. Him having to agree that it's a Kaepernick-level collusion. Messing up everything, he said. What's been done to Shedeur will outshine everything else in the draft. We'll never believe this is about just talent evaluation again. Well, the good news is it doesn't matter what the media believes because we don't spend 1 second thinking about it. And I'm sitting here in the chair now. Not 1 second. Hey, hold on. I'm getting a call from another team. Hey, make sure you don't draft John Cocktoaston from West Virginia until the 7th round. All right, let me call my scouting people. It's so ridiculous. I don't even understand where it comes from. Mel Kiper saying the NFL has been clueless evaluating quarterbacks. Based on what? He looked completely unhinged all weekend, as though there was something being done against him. Is the clueless part, is the fact that there's never been a good quarterback who has been drafted? Correct me if I'm wrong here, Coca, and I probably have this wrong. Was Tom Brady the number 1 overall pick? I can't remember whether he was first round and first pick. Something in my head tells me that he wasn't, but he may have been. Hold on, let me keep going. Let me keep going about all the good quarterbacks out there. There's this guy who, for the Ravens. His name is Lamar Jackson. I can't remember where he was drafted, except I think it was 32nd last pick in the first round, which means there were 31 pretty clueless teams. But let me think about it. If there are any other examples. I assume Patrick Mahomes, the Super Bowl winning Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen of the I haven't won one yet, but I plan to win one, even though I'm winning in life, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, they were probably top picks for sure. Do you see where I'm going here? The draft in football, baseball, basketball, it's a very inexact science. And you think that there was some sort of punishment to Shedeur because of Dion? Don't you think it's more likely that when he met with teams, he may or may not have acquitted himself well? He may or may not be as actually good as everyone had him. Isn't it more likely that the people who don't do this for a living got it wrong than the people who do it for a living? And boy, it makes me smile. The number of people who don't evaluate talent for a living believe they do because they have a platform, because they're media, because they have a podcast, or because they're an expert. Because they do mock drafts starting now, and I'm not impugning my hard coworkers in our industry because we're giving you the content that you all crave because you want a mock draft for 2026 for crying out loud. I'm going to give you a mock draft of 8th graders and where they're going to go to college. When's it enough? But there's a very big difference between the Jeff Patsons of the world who don't know squat about squat than the people who are actually paid to do it. Even Robert Griffin, former quarterback, he's out. He's going to be the number 2 CFB college football analyst at another network, Fox. He had a comment about Sanders, saying Sanders should not have dropped out of the first 3 rounds of the draft. He dropped out. It's 100% personal. NFL GM scouts in the NFL are trying to teach Dion and Shedeur a lesson. Well, Robert, I've worked in front offices for 18 big ones, 18 drafts. The number of times I wanted to teach a lesson to the player by not drafting him because I wanted him. Wait for it. Hold on. I've got it. 0. The reason why I'm not interested in teaching the father of a draft pick a lesson, even though there are some fathers who get in the way so much that the player doesn't make it. The reason I don't want to be in the business of teaching a kid a lesson, for crying out loud, we took a first-round draft pick who ended up having drug issues. We took a first-round draft pick who ended up not performing. We took a second-round draft pick who has a chance for the Hall of Fame. It is impossibly difficult to articulate how to succeed fully in the draft because it doesn't happen with any team. Every team, including your team, all 32 in football, all 30 in baseball, have made mistakes in the draft by taking someone too early who ends up stinking, or by taking someone late who ends up being great, who you say to yourself, my God, how could we not have taken him? Every player has 29 other teams, or 31 in football, who didn't take him once the first round is over. Frankly, the number 32 pick, Lamar Jackson, I could argue 31 teams passed on Lamar Jackson, assuming all teams had only one pick that year. When you take a Hall of Famer, Mike Piazza, in the 69th round, it's 30 teams passed him 68 times. 32 teams passed on Lamar, Coca just said. The first thing Coca said of the week was Ravens related. Are you shocked? Are you excited for this? Are you excited that the Browns got Shedeur? It's a nothing burger. Let me tell you what's not a nothing burger. And Andrew Berry had some good quotes, and it's a crowded quarterback room, et cetera, et cetera. But here's something that does matter to me. What matters to me is the phone call that Shedeur got, the prank call. And this has become a big deal. The backstory is there's a defensive coordinator, a guy named Jeff Ulbrich. He was actually the interim coach for the Jets for a hot second. His son is a guy named Jax Ulbrich, just a 20-year-old kid. He's a 20-year-old son. And here's the story of what happened. So the NFL, for reasons unbeknownst to me, because they need to make sure lines of communication are open with all of the potential draftees, the NFL actually gives burner phones. Not the players need even an extra phone. I'm surprised they can keep track of a third phone or a fourth phone. But, boy, you should see when we go through security to get on a charter plane in the big leagues. It is some kind of funny. The number of cell phones that all of the players and staff have, it makes me laugh. I always liked having one cell phone, never had a burner cell phone. Who can keep track? But the NFL gives a burner cell phone to the potential first-round picks. Hey, make sure you answer the call. Numbers are programmed into the phones. Phone rings at Shedeur Sanders' burner phone. It is Mickey Loomis. Think about how amazing this is. The GM of the Saints is calling Shedeur Sanders to say, hey, sorry you had to wait so long, but we're drafting you now. We're going to take you with our next pick. Shedeur Sanders says, thank you. Very excited. And the caller says, just kidding, and hangs up. It was a Howard Stern-like prank call, and the NFL is investigating how could it happen, but it came out already how it happened. So apparently, the son of the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, was walking around the house visiting his dad, and the dad had a laptop open or an iPad open that had all these private phone numbers of players on it. It's a good thing we don't leave our tax returns on the table, honey. So the son sees the cell phone numbers, writes down the cell phone number of Shedeur Sanders, and decides, hey, let's call him. We'll do a crank call. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders' family is filming him getting the call because they want to make content out of it. So they're filming the call as though it's real, and it turns out they got punked. And the NFL is not too happy about it. The Falcons had to actually release a statement, as did the 21-year-old kid. The 21-year-old kid said, "I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish." No, Jax. If you're going to lean into the bit, lean in. Don't break character. He said, "I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment." Oh, you just realized it now because it got all the attention? This is the most pathetic statement. Now, he's 21 years old, so he's of age. We're all adults here. The reason I'm getting on him is it makes him look like a fool. You don't see Borat apologizing for anything, or all of the, by the way, the guys who do the thing where the guy should apologize because now he's in trouble for doing stuff, but they put people in funny positions, and I can't think of the name of the show. God dang it, Coca. Be in my head right now. Be in my ear. What's the name of the show with the four men and they're doing these bloopers? They set up people. It's not Candid Camera. Impractical Jokers, Coca. You're the best. Now, that guy's in trouble because he did things that are not part of Impractical Jokers. But part of Impractical Jokers, when you do the stuff you're supposed to do, you're not apologizing. Even the Falcons. Earlier in the week, Jack Ulbrich, the 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur Sanders off an open iPad while visiting his parents' home and wrote the number down to later conduct a prank call. Woo-hoo, that's a lot of activity. When you unintentionally come over something, does that mean when you're walking through the house, you're just gallivanting, maybe even sauntering, maybe crawling, and you look and you say, "Woo, what's this? This looks like a phone number. Let me choose a guy. Who would be the perfect guy to call? Anybody? Shedeur Sanders. I got it." Jeff Ulbrich was unaware of the data exposure. Like all of a sudden we're dealing with state secrets. We got the phone numbers of the top 30 guys in the country or the top 160 guys in the country. And we're going to treat this, my favorite, like the recipe of new Coke. We can't have a data breach. We're going to have to disclose to people that their number's been given to a defensive coordinator and maybe his children. Luckily, Jordan Olson was there and stopped this from happening. Do you know the Atlanta Falcons do not condone this behavior, they said? What behavior? The prank phone call or leaving these very secretive numbers in an iPad that was not shut down when you go to take a pee-pee? The Falcons want you to know they've been in contact with the NFL. They will cooperate fully with any inquiries. We are reviewing all protocols. This is unbelievable to me. Now, please understand, I do not agree with the fact that this call was made because these type of pranks I never enjoyed. Sort of the Howard Stern calls, the Baba Ganoush, all these calls didn't mean much to me. Never got a huge kick out of it because you always have to imagine being on the other side of it. Feels like bullying. Doesn't feel like good content. But for crying out loud, let's get back to the games. The New York Yankees have a problem that we have to address here today. The problem is that they traded for a player, and I want to see if old Marlins fans, if any of this rings familiar to you. You trade for a player, sign for a player, and that player you're so happy to have, you're so excited that any team rule you may have had is up to re-investigation and looking at it again and maybe even changing. Devin Williams didn't want to shave his beard, unlike many players who don't want to shave their beard. The difference was the Yankees were coming off losing Juan Soto. They trade Nestor Cortez, a popular player, up until Freddie Freeman gets to the plate. Devin Williams comes in, says, "I don't want to shave my beard. That's ridiculous." And the Yankees say, "You know what? I think you're right. I mean, I didn't want to do this for Stanton. I didn't want to do it for anybody. But for you, Devin Williams, I'll do it." So the Yankees all of a sudden have a new policy. They allow beards. Nicely cropped, of course. And the problem is Devin Williams can't get anybody out. And the power of Devin Williams and the excitement of the trade as we close in on the end of April is such that you can't give him the ball at the end of the game. And so what the Yankees have done is they have, quote unquote, removed Devin Williams from the closer's role. They're going to give the majority of the save work to Luke Weaver. And Aaron Boone, 4869. And Aaron Boone's theory, while he's telling you that it's an I, we always asked our managers to use we. We always would use we. Aaron Boone did not make this decision without the approval of Brian Cashman and without the understanding and approval of Hal Steinbrenner. There is zero chance. There is zero chance Aaron Boone woke up and announced to the media that Devin Williams was not going to be the closer, and Cashman and Steinbrenner opened their paper in front of with coffee and a schmear and said, oh, I guess we're going with that. We're going with Weaver. No. So it's we. So I'm going to change his line because he said for right now, I'm going to take him out of that role, and I'm going to read it for right now. We are going to take him out of that role. And he said that we think it's best for everyone that we pull him out of the role and try and start building some good rhythm and confidence and momentum and fully expect him to be a central figure for us moving forward. This is a Tuesday, folks. When you have a player who's not performing, you give him way more opportunity when it's a player you've spent capital on to acquire or a player who you've signed as a free agent. If it's a minor league invite who made your team and they get off to a bad start, designate him, send him out, forget it. No one cares. A way shorter string when you do not have pedigree or you do not have investment by the people in the front office. Devin Williams got to the point where there was nothing anyone could do to save him anymore. When your ERA is over 11 and you've made 10 appearances on the season, you are not going to stay in the role. There's two choices you have when you're going to demote a closer who was not a closer by committee and he was not someone you put in there because of injury. The two choices are, one, you trade and release the player. Too early to do that. It's April. Two, you put the player on the injured list. Very common. The Mets got in trouble for it, but it's called the phantom disabled list, now called the phantom injured list. You say the player has a back issue, has a little tightness, and we're going to put him on the injured list. You do it because you want the player to not be criticized for losing his role, but you don't want to pitch him in that role anymore. And so you're trying to save him some PR, even though it doesn't work, because people in the media know or former executives know exactly why these things get done. So it isn't as effective as it used to be, putting a player on the phantom injured list. The third option, I said there were two. Obviously, the third option is what we saw today, which is we're going to move him out of high leverage. We're going to put Devin Williams in a place where he can't hurt us too much. If we're up or down 6 runs, we're going to give him an inning. And what we say inside the manager's room is, if he can just get a clean inning or two, get his confidence back, we'll then increase his leverage, put him in the 7th inning of a close game. Then we'll put him in the 8th inning of a close game, then in the 9th inning. And he'll be back to closing. And you map it out and you say to yourself, hey, we're going to give this about 2 weeks. 2 weeks is roughly how long it used to be the injured list. It was the 15-day DL. The reason I like the 2-week system is that you map sort of the number of appearances you want him to get. And Devin Williams or players like this who have lost their confidence, you do not gain confidence back in the bullpen. Many teams will mislead you, and many managers will mislead you with the following comment. They'll say, oh, he looked really good in the bullpen. He looks fresh, looks strong. He had all his pitches working for him in the bullpen. Horse hockey. It doesn't matter. We say it because we want you to feel good about your guy. We want you to feel good about our ability to feel good about our guy. So it's Devin Williams figuring things out in the bullpen? No. Devin Williams is going to get into a Yankee game soon, and you can bet your sweet spippy that it's going to be in the 6th or 7th inning of a game that's not tight. I was thinking about this with Devin Williams. Will it work? Because that's what we ask ourselves before putting a player on the injured list, is whether or not the plan of having him appear in the 6th, 7th, and 8th of not close games and working his way up over that 2 to 3 week period, will it work for Devin Williams? And I say no. Devin Williams needs to be sent out. And they're not going to demote him to the minor leagues, but he needs to go on the injured list. He needs to not be an option for Aaron Boone. The worry that the Yankees have is that Luke Weaver is not going to be able to get it done as a closer. He's been outstanding in the bullpen. He hasn't given up runs. You forgot how good Luke Weaver was. If you didn't watch the Yankees last year, then you don't remember. But nasty, nasty stuff. Very young. He's gone 14 innings. He hasn't given up a run yet. Barely any hits. 3 hits over 14 innings. But believe you me, it's different in the 9th with a lead of 1, 2, or 3 runs. I'm going to give you an official wait to see about this, Coca. Devin Williams is going to go on the injured list before the end of May. Make that an official wait to see. Because if he goes out in the 6th or 7th or 8th inning of a not close game and gives up runs or doesn't have command, they're going to have no choice but to give him a phantom little back pain. We'll make that an official wait to see. We'll revisit it no later than the end of next month. I want to switch to something slightly more important. I've been accused, nothing bad, I've been accused of not caring about the fans, not caring about the players, being the face of corporate greed. This is Le Batard and what he tries to paint me as. That's not the case. I'm actually far more empathetic than people realize, and I have far greater interests than just sports. One thing that has always interested me is mental health, and I have great respect for players, and I did not, as an executive, appreciate this as much as I should. If I were an executive today, I would, but back then, while I agreed with having therapists around, I wanted them to be performance therapists only, get me more wins, get players better, with pretty much reckless indifference toward mental health. I'd say that's been the biggest change to me personally, is the empathy toward players as human beings for having mental health issues and the impact it can have on performance, the same way mental health issues can impact what anyone does during the course of any day. Last week, we told you about the player for the Red Sox who had tried to commit suicide, was really trying to figure it out, and went right to the edge. And remember when his gun did not actually go off, and somehow his life was spared, and he's now a productive member of the Red Sox. You know, of course, we're talking about Duran. Yesterday in Cleveland, something happened, and I want to be very clear how I mention this, because I don't want any aggregation. I don't want anyone to misunderstand. As a fan, you do not have a right to go to a sporting event. It is a private event. It's a ticketed event. When you buy a ticket, you're signing a contract. You can read the fine print. You cannot read the fine print. Never mattered to me, but we're in charge. The teams are in charge. Hard stop. You don't have the right to free speech. You don't have the right to congregate. You don't have the right to practice religion. You don't have the right to do anything. You are my guest. Do I want you to have a good time, a good experience? You come back and spend more money? Yes. At the expense of thinking that you can act or do or say whatever you want? Absolutely not. And it's my choice. I can say, you're saying something not nice about the owner. See you later. You're saying something not nice about the hot dogs. See you later. You're saying something not nice about my team. See you later. My choice. You have no right. One of the fans who went to the game in Cleveland was heckling Duran and actually said something to him. Will Middlebrooks, a good friend at CBS and now also doing analyst work for Nesson and for the Red Sox, an unbelievable broadcasting career he is building for himself. He came out and said that he knows exactly what the fan said to Duran. He told Duran he should have just killed himself when he had the chance. I am not going to say that this is the Cleveland Guardians' fault. I'm not going to say it is a reflection of anyone else in Cleveland. That's low-hanging fruit that doesn't interest me. I've told you that the action of one bad apple does not ruin the bunch. As a matter of fact, fans of the Guardians basically surrounded this guy, pointed him out to make sure that this guy was removed and removed permanently. Duran had to be held back from going after the guy. I want to make two things clear. One, players are told early and often, no matter what is said, no matter what type of racial, disgusting statements, and believe me, black players have heard it all. No matter how disgusting and racist a comment is, you do not engage. You may not engage. No matter what you say about someone's killing themselves or someone's lack of play, lack of having a wife or a husband, whatever, players are not allowed to engage. If Duran had gone into the stands, and there is talk all over the internet, hey, he should have gone in and kicked that guy's ass. Boy, that feels good, doesn't it? Not allowed. That is not the justice. That is not how we will find justice. The way we find justice is through education. The way we find justice is through consequence to your actions. The consequence for this fan is he will never be allowed to go to another major league game, ever, anywhere. The other consequence for that fan is that forever he will be known, because his face will get out, he will be known as the person who is disgusting in a way that I thought was reserved only for people who are racist. This level of heckle, and I'm a heckler, never about something like this. And you want to talk about you don't draft a guy, that's personal when he falls to the 5th round? No. You heckle about somebody's mental health, that's personal. You exhibit racist tendencies and comments, that's personal. There is no place for it. The Guardians had to release a statement about this. They only said we're aware of the situation, we recognize the gravity of the behavior, and we apologize to the Red Sox organization and the player involved. Fans in the area were addressing the situation. Why wouldn't they mention Duran's name in the statement? What is the purpose of releasing a statement and acknowledging what happened when everybody knows exactly what happened? It's not like there's an investigation that needs to take place. It is acknowledged. How dare you, if you're listening to this, and if you know that person, how dare you? All right, we come back. We're going to talk about what happened in the Knicks game, at the end of the Knicks game. If you are a Pistons fan, don't turn it off. You're going to want to hear this. If you're a Knicks fan, you'll want to hear it too. And we'll, of course, review a movie. We'll do it all after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's a Monday. I watched a movie yesterday. There was a quadruple header that started at 1 o'clock, and I was on a plane, which means I got to watch The Assessment. That's with Kate Olsen and Hamish Patel and Alicia Vikander. This is a crazy movie that I wish I could give more attention to. The Assessment is about a dystopian world where in order to have a child, you have to actually have the government come in and assess your viability. I don't mean physically, your viability mentally. Because population is an issue, resources are an issue, and this movie is about Vikander as the assessor and the married couple going crazy, basically, while this assessor lives with them for 7 days, trying to figure out, are they childbearing worthy? It is all kinds of strange but interesting. I would suggest this. If you've got the extra time and you're looking for something to watch because you're thinking of having children or not, or you're thinking that the government's too involved or not, and you've got all these sort of theories in your head, go watch The Assessment. It will get your mind cranking as it did mine. And I've come to the conclusion that I don't want the government involved in my reproductive decisions. I reviewed on Friday or Thursday, sometime last week, a show called North of North, and I made a mistake. I want to reiterate to you, our great, loyal, growing audience. When I make a mistake, just tell me, because I'm going to, whether I'm doing an hour, 2 hours, whatever I'm doing, there's going to be mistakes. Someone said to me, thanks for talking about North of North, but when referring to Inuit as a people, it's just Inuit people, not Inuits. A singular person would be called an Inuk. I'm an Inuk from the north, and I have family there. Thank you. I misspoke in describing how to label and talk about people who lived north of North and who were in this show. I appreciate the correction. The thing about making corrections is it feels good if you can change going forward. That's the whole purpose. Do you know what can't change going forward right now in the NBA? The 2-minute report where a crew chief, a guy named David Guthrie, who was crew of the Knicks-Pistons game, when he comes out after the game and says, hey, that was a foul on Josh Hart. The Detroit Pistons lost an old-fashioned, great 80s, 90s Pistons-Knicks, Pistons-Bulls, Knicks-Bulls game. 94 Knicks Heat, 94-93. End of the game, Tim Hardaway's son, who's been in the league 12 years, by the way, which is hard to imagine, took a 3-point shot. It came up short. He was fouled in the body by Josh Hart, and David Guthrie swallowed his whistle. All the referees swallowed their whistles. He would have been on the line, down 1, shooting 3 shots, with a chance not just to tie or win, but also cover, might I add. But instead, whistle swallowed, Knicks win. They're up 3-1. They now have a 96% chance of winning the series. That's the math of being up 3-1. Keep that in your mind when we get to the T-Wolves Lakers. David Guthrie decided that he was going to address the issue directly after the game. He said during live play, it was judged that Josh Hart made a legal defensive play. But after post-game review, we observed that Hart makes body contact that is more than marginal to Hardaway Jr., and a foul should have been called. Meanwhile, J.B. Bickerstaff, the coach of the Pistons, in real time saw the foul because it was right in front of the bench of the Pistons and lost his mind. It was actually in front of the Knicks bench, I believe, but Bickerstaff was right there, rushed the court, wanted them to turn back the machines, turn them on, replay it, except no foul call, no replay, game over. It reminded me a little bit of the Mets game yesterday, or Saturday, Coca, or Friday, Coca, 4-8-69. This reminded me of what happened to the Mets on Friday when they had a triple play called against them, and clearly it was a trap in the infield by the shortstop of the Nationals and not a catch. But the rule in baseball is that any ball in the infield is not reviewable, and I was there when we made that rule, and I have great regret over how that went down. The way it went down is as a committee, we met and said, we can't have everything reviewable. What instant replay is supposed to be for is to correct any major mistakes. I raised my hand and said, but if we have the technology, why not be perfect? What's the downside for striving for perfection? And the answer was, before the advent of the pitch clock, our games are already 3.5 hours. We can't have a challenge every Monday. That's Yiddish for Monday and Wednesday. We can't have that. The games will take forever. Well, now with the way replay is, I totally disagree. And I believe that every play should be reviewable, because that would have been a 3-second review out of Sea Caucus, or if the umpires had actually gotten together at the Mets game, they saw that it was a trap. Somebody should have seen it was a trap, and that's it. When it comes to a foul call, we are trying in the NBA, what they should be trying for is to get it right. What we used to tell our players is don't get upset about a bad ball or strike call because those even out over the course of a season. Don't be upset about a bang-bang play at first base or second base, and this was pre-review, because it'll all even out. Here's the time we don't say that. In the playoffs. Because in a sample size that small of your playoff run, and when you're 2-1 about to go to 2-2 or to be down 3-1, it's the difference between having a chance to win the series and not. There is no getting it back. There is no making it right. It doesn't feel better to the Pistons that David Guthrie came out and said he got it wrong. There's no moral victories. You lost the game. Now, I could argue as the NBA that the Detroit Pistons gave up 2 points at the end of the third quarter with some razzle-dazzle ridiculousness where the dunk was after the buzzer. They could have just laid it in and gotten 2 points, and they would have won the game. But I don't do any of that. I don't go back and say, oh, if not this, then that, and we could change the world. If I hadn't been in Wisconsin that particular Tuesday, then I wouldn't have taken that class and gotten this bit of information or met that person. I get it. That's fun little destiny stuff to talk about. But the fact of the matter is what directly led to the game being lost by the Pistons was that call not being made, was by the referees swallowing their whistles. Now, don't excuse it by saying, oh, they could have done so much during the course of the game to make it not matter. Doesn't matter to me because the facts are the facts and they were where they were in the game. It was 94-93 Knicks for whatever reason, and somehow Hardaway Jr. was able to get a shot off somehow, some way. I think things have to change there, Coca. I don't think there's any other way around it. Let's go to nothing personal pick of the day. We had the Diamondbacks and Zach Gallen over Chris Sale and the Braves Friday, and that was a loss. Gallen is just not, he's exactly not who you thought he was because he hasn't been able to do it for multiple years. We thought he was the best pitcher in baseball or one of them. Now he is a 5-starter. We had the Pistons 1.5 over the Knicks. We lost that. And we talked about it. Saturday, we took the Tigers over Charlie Morton and the Orioles. Coca, Brandon Hyde is going to get fired. The Orioles manager, David Rubenstein, the owner, is going to have to make a change along with Mike Elias. The reason why a change will have to be made is they are witnessing with their great young lineup the closing of a window because they did not supplement their team. There's not enough pitching there. The hitting has been only okay. Hyde has had that team, and he's a guy who I worked with. We hired him in various capacities, even as a interim manager, but the result is he's going to lose his job. So we are 46-48. It's Corbin Day. So we're taking the Aths over the Texas Rangers. They're only -110. And then we've got a big NBA game I'm excited to watch. Rockets, Warriors. Jimmy Butler's still out. And the Rockets are getting 3.5. We are taking those 3.5 points. Rockets plus 3.5 in a game 4 in the state by the Bay. I want to talk about, if you don't mind, the Los Angeles Dodgers for a moment. I could not let Monday's show pass without mentioning Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow, who is their pitcher, you recall, they traded for him. They signed him to a large extension. He is making a ton of money. And he's a player who is a Cillian Murphy lookalike. That's true, too. We could put that side by side of them on the screen. It's really crazy how much they look alike. But Cillian can act and Tyler can throw. But here's the thing about Glasnow. He's always hurt. That is something very clear. He was pulled yesterday because of some potential shoulder issues. Remember when he left the game with leg cramping? And we were thanking God it was only leg cramping, and that was a couple games ago. Now he's leaving the game for shoulder issues. That's going to be a lot longer on the shelf. He's only pitched 18 innings so far, and he got $136.5 million over 5 years, only December of 23 from these Dodgers. Glasnow was spoken to after the game, and what he said was of great interest to me. He said, I've been working with the training staff with the Dodgers, trying to figure out why I keep getting hurt. And they had me make some changes. And I am hurt today because of those changes. It's what I've always told you about being very careful with pitchers. When we see anything wrong with a leg, when we see anything wrong with their torso, when we see anything wrong anywhere, we stop them from pitching, because naturally the body is going to adjust its position to not feel pain. And when you are throwing a ball like 100 miles an hour and your body is adjusting to do something so it doesn't hurt, you are guaranteed to hurt something else. We have been so clear with pitchers time after time. Max Scherzer, your thumb hurts, stop pitching. You're going to ruin your elbow. Tyler, you've hurt your leg, your knee, your toe, your stomach, your shoulder, your elbow, your knees, shoulders, head. When does a team just realize that they got it wrong? They thought there was an opportunity for Tyler Glasnow not to be Tyler Glasnow. This has happened to me so many times. This is going to be the year that it changes. This will be the stretch of years, if we sign him, that he'll actually perform for us. And then when it doesn't happen, we have this aura of surprise, like we missed it. We should have known better. When you've got payroll to play with, you don't need to know better. The Dodgers have Glasnow, Blake Snell, Ohtani, Trinan, Kershaw, Kopech, Gonsolin, Stone, Gratterall. Players you've never heard of, 3 more. All of them on the injured list. All of them unable to pitch. I just want to give you a count right now. There are 12 pitchers. That's an entire staff that's on the injured list for the Dodgers. You want to know why there's issues in baseball, owner v. owner, and why there's all these problems in collective bargaining? It's that the Dodgers have a pitching staff on the injured list. And the Dodgers are fine with that because of the depth that they acquired because of the payroll. I believe they should be penalized for this level of reckless indifference and this financial might that they're able to use and employ over the other teams that they compete with. And that penalty is the salary cap. That penalty is, and we can put it in there, the number of pitchers you can have on your roster. You see, you can hide players on the 60-day injured list because they don't count towards your 40-man roster or your 26-man roster, and they're not eligible to go to any other team. They're on your 60-day injured list. It is a great way to use roster manipulation. The 15-day injured list people stay on your roster, but not on your active roster. They're only on your 40-man roster. Good, but not as good as the 60-day. The Dodgers are really smart about using their injured list. They use it for roster manipulation. They use it to help increase their differentiating factor, which is money. The Dodgers are the team who will trade for and sign an injured player, pay him for a year not to pitch because he's injured, and then get him for the following year. And if he comes back, great. If not, fine. But the Dodgers are able to do deals like that their competitors do not do. The Los Angeles Dodgers and Tyler Glasnow are a perfect manifestation of what happens when you combine brilliance and money. Because that is a huge combination. where Andrew Friedman is not doing anything against the rules. Andrew Friedman is operating the way a team should be operated given the resources the Dodgers have. The complaining that I'm doing is not that the Dodgers are not nice or not fair. It's that they've got that opportunity that I don't have. I am remiss when I lose not based on merits. If I lose to a better team, a better organization, a smarter front office, I tip my cap. When I lose to someone who had an unfair advantage, that bothers me. When Andrew Friedman picks up the phone after winning a World Series and just says, hey, it's just business. Sorry, this is nothing personal.